What is going on, people? Welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are doing well. Today I am going to be continuing with the little tutorial that I put together a couple of days ago on sort of how to get your beats hitting harder. Now I sort of went through one step on there with adding a soft clipper to the master. I'm going to kind of continue on from there and show you guys what I do with my drums. And it's just a few little steps that allow the drums to really kind of sit on top of the mix, sort of fatten the sound out a little bit. And what I'm trying to do with this tutorial as well is run through not some generic steps, because there's way too many tutorials on that. I'm kind of I want to show you guys a routine sort of mixing trick that I do on every single beat. So this is not just something that you can do on some beats, you know, this is basically something you can just add to any beat, and it was just sort of fatten up those drums for you. So we're going to dive into it. We're going to get to my computer, but before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already. Make sure you hit the bell. You already know the drill, I say in every single video. But anyway, we're going to dive into it. Yeah, let's just do this. Okay, so before we get into it, I highly recommend that you go back and watch the first sort of this will make your beats harder video, where I show you how to put the soft clipper onto the master. That just sort of makes sure that nothing clips, and it makes sure that everything sort of sits properly in the mix. So head back to that video and watch it. Quick recap if you don't want to go back and watch it. Put all of your sounds into the mixer. So you've got all of these sounds in here and organized. Then just drop the soft clipper. I'll put Edison there because I'm recording on this video, but put the soft clipper on the last insert and don't touch anything, just leave it. But that is all we're going to do for the recap, because I really want to get into the nitty-gritty part of mixing the drums. So the first thing that we're going to do is, if you've already got your mix, you know, fairly well organized. So basically I've got all my drums, all of these green ones, organized, you know, in one space, just so I know exactly where they all are. Just makes it easier for my part. But yeah, once you know exactly where your drums are, you're going to send them all to an individual bus, an individual mixer track basically. And the reason why we do that is because we can just affect all of the sounds at once. It saves us having to put the same effects on the same sounds, and it saves a lot of CPU as well. All you need to do is find the first sound in the drums, which is my clap, which is here. Find the nearest empty mixer track, which is this one. You're going to make sure you clicked on the clap. You're going to make sure that you've got the first sound selected. Right click this little arrow down here and select route to this track only. Okay, and what that's going to do is play the sound through that, play the clap through there, and it's also going to play it through this mixer track. And then just go ahead and do that to every single drum until you've got everything running through the mixer by itself, if that makes any sense. So just make sure you've got all these sounds running through this mixer track. Okay, and just to double check if you've done that properly, solo the drums. So just turn off all of these sounds. And then just play the beat, and if all the drums are playing and this levels up, then you know everything's running through there properly. Okay? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to play with this EQ, this built-in EQ. I don't really add a parametric EQ to the mix bus, because to be honest, you don't really need to. It saves CPU to do it this way as well, so it doesn't really matter. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to increase the low end and the high end. I'm just going to sort of bring the low end out and the high end out, just to sort of beefing out the sound a little bit. Okay, now that sounds pretty dope to me. And again, it's as simple as that. Just, you know, raise the low end, raise the high end. There doesn't need to be any fancy cuts here and there. It's just a real sort of basic, you know, EQ, just to get the sounds out where you want them to be. Now, the second thing that I'll do is I'll head to the first insert on this mixer track, and I'll add something called Bittersweet. It's a free plugin. It's done by, it was made by Flux. So if you want to go and download that, head over to the Flux website. You can download that for free. But basically what this plugin does is it's kind of like a transients enhancer. So this plugin just focuses on the highs, like the peaks of the sounds that are running through that specific bus. So that when you turn this knob up, it's going to increase the volume of those peaks, and it just sort of makes whatever's running through this VST a little bit more crisp, and it just makes the sound a bit, you know, a bit more crisper. So we're gonna literally just drag this knob up a little bit until we are happy with it, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, that sounds good to me. And again, we're only making minor adjustments to these sounds, so you don't want to overdo it. Just do it till you sort of hear a little bit of a change, and then sort of leave it at that. Okay, now the next thing that we are going to do is add in another plugin called Camel Crusher. I've covered this in several videos. It's an awesome plugin, and it's free. I can't believe they're actually giving this away for free. Pause the video, go and get it, come back to the video if you don't, and we will carry on. So we're going to add the Camel Crusher, and it'll come up with this default preset, which is really nasty. So just turn the tube distortion down, the mech distortion, the compressor, and turn the master back up. So just basically turn all the effects off in this plugin. And now all we're going to do is add a tiny bit of compression to the drums. This is just going to sort of glue all the drums together, but it's going to keep them nice and punchy still. So we're just going to play with this little knob down here at the bottom, the compressor knob. Leave the fat mode turned on to make sure that P is highlighted on there. And yeah, we're just going to gradually bring that compressor knob up. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. And if you've noticed, I keep doing this with my plugins. If you kind of bring each knob up until you've gone too far and then back off a little bit, it makes it sound a lot more effective, because then you know that you've gone too far, so you can back off a little bit. It's better to go too far and back off than not go hard enough and, you know, not bring the full potential out of the sound. So that's all we're going to do for the compression. Again, there's not much on there, just only a tiny little bit of compression. Next thing we're going to do is literally just add 1% to this mech distortion. This is sort of like the mids distortion that it's going to bring out, and literally it is quite a powerful knob, so I only put on 1%, and it does make quite a harsh difference. So I'll show you the before and after of this. So this is without the distortion on. Okay, now this is with the distortion on. Did I say on before? This is with it on, before it was off. See, makes a massive difference, and it just sort of, it's not I mean, again, it might not sound like a massive difference to you guys, but if you're sort of doing it to your own beats, you'll realise how much of an effect this does have on it. So just add that 1%. Next thing we're going to do is make sure that the levels are still looking right. And basically what I mean by that is, because we've added this bittersweet, we've sort of jacked up the high end and the low ends, the levels are most likely going to be higher than what they were before. So we're just going to make sure that we bring the levels back down to where they were before, just so we're not going to have the drums coming out way too loud in the mix. So let's just come back to your drum bus and unhighlight this FX sound here. I'll just turn all the effects off, play the beat. Okay, we're coming at just above -5 dB. We're going to turn the effects on, play the beat. Yeah, we're coming out a lot louder. Yeah, so we're coming out a lot louder. So we're just going to go into the Camel Crusher. You can do this with the volume knob, but I just like to do it with the Camel Crusher. And just turn the volume back down so we can get it back down around -5 dB. Okay, so we've got that sorted, everything's back to the normal levels. However, when we add the effects and you sort of listen to the before and after, there is a big difference. So let's check it out. So this is with no effects. Okay, and this is with the effects. So, you know, we've got more of a beefy sound now with the drums. Again, it might not sound massively different to you guys. However, when you do this to your own beats, it does make a huge difference. And we're not finished there. Okay, now the next thing that I'll do is add a little bit of distortion. And this is the last thing that I'll do to the drums. So I'd highly recommend that you guys go and jump on the Isotope Ozone Exciter. That's a really good distortion plugin that I like to use on the drums every single time. But for the tutorial purposes and for you guys who don't have the financial who aren't in the financial space to start buying expensive plugins, we are gonna use the Fruity Fast Dist because it does the job just as well. So all we're gonna do is open up the Fast Dist like this, and we're just gonna cycle through some of the presets and find the one that sounds the best. So just hit play. Okay, that one sounds the best to me because it's quite subtle. but it's really going to sort of bring a lot more of the sound out with this distortion. So all we're going to do is play around the mix knob until we've got a nice clean sound, and just leave it. Okay, so hit play. Okay, that sounds good to me. And literally that is all I do to the drums. Okay, fair enough, if you've got some sounds that don't sound, you know, pretty good within the mix, you can go in and EQ them individually. But 9 times out of 10, if you've got some really dope sounds, you don't need to adjust any of them. Like I'm telling you this from experience. I've spent way too much time EQing every single individual sound, taking up a ton of CPU, and making the sample sound worse. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have had this problem where you think the more that you do to the beat, the better it's going to come out in the end. When the truth is, if you've got good enough sounds to begin with, and it's really not difficult to get your hands on some good sounds for free. There's absolutely tons of sample packs out there that are free. They've got some really dope sounds. You know, then you don't have to do too much to them. So again, like I haven't even done anything to these sounds except for the hi-hats. I had a bit of reverb and I had a bit of compression and an EQ, and that's literally it. Look, nothing else. Everything's just done to this one bus. But I'll stop rambling on. Let me show you guys a quick before and after of how this sounds. So this is before we EQ'd, we compressed, distorted, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and this is after. And there you have it, people. That is literally all I will do to my drums. Now go ahead and try this. I promise you this will give you a good sound from your beats. If you don't have some fire beats already, you know, go and give this a try. It really does work. I've been spending a lot of time on figuring out new ways to mix, just, you know, ways that's going to make life easier for myself and that gives you a better sound. And the truth is, the less you do, the better the sound is going to come out, okay? It might sound stupid, but it is really true, and you'll totally understand where I'm coming from later on down the line. I'm pretty sure of it. If you enjoyed the video, if you found a little bit of value from this video, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on another tutorial. I'll drop the melody tutorial on how to sort of mix the melody together. I'll drop that in the next few videos. And yeah, that is all for today, people. I will see you next time.